So men, manly men, men. Wow. I watched this in its entirety tonight. I did watch half of it the other day. Didn't get through it. Decided I wanted to review it and give it a full watch and give my thoughts. On knowing that my thoughts were going to be pretty expansive. I don't know like where to begin with this freaking film. I gave it a 4.5 out of 5 because of its ability to actually deliver in the elements and the style in the type of films that I love. Cinematography is top notch. The effort put into the bonkers story is great. See, here's the thing with me when it comes to abstract film, and especially art house film. I love the quality of an art house film that is confusing. I love when films have that rewatch value that I don't have to understand anything the fuck that's going on. And I can still enjoy it because of the questions raised. And I'm telling you, Men is one of those films that raises every question you could possibly imagine through pretty much its entire runtime. Men is definitely 100% art house, and it fits the A24 title for sure, hands down. So know who you are going into a film like this. The political agenda when it comes to like wokeness, man hating, it's there for sure, and it's heavy handed, absolutely. That's not what I loved about the movie though. It's not that whole agenda part of it is not what I loved. I could take it or leave it. I don't, but it doesn't offend me like it does some people, some reviewists, some people who talk about, you know, loading up movies with politics and opinions and how do they say it, messages and cramming things down your throat. Stuff like that doesn't offend me as it does other people I've listened to, but none of those things and those elements is why I love this film. I love this film simply because of its style, and I a lot of times am a style over substance kind of guy. And my God, this film just does so much unique. It takes risks and it does so many things that I haven't seen in other films, or at least in the style that this one does it. This I would consider a horror film, especially in its third act, for sure. And it takes horror in a really different and unique direction, a really interesting direction. Plot wise, you have this woman who is trying to escape and heal herself of guilt and torment and pain and suffering and fear in this small village countryside town where it's surrounded by wilderness and it's, you know, in the countryside away from society. I think maybe 20 people max live in this entire village, including her landlord that's renting this cottage to her for 2 weeks. And she's getting over basically an accident slash suicide slash mysterious death, which it could have been an accident and it could have been a suicide because she was having marital problems and there was a lot of domestic abuse going on in her relationship with her husband. And when she claimed that she wanted a divorce, he immediately threatened suicide. There is an incredible fight scene, an argument scene between her, Harper is her name, and her husband James, that is so well written and is so well acted that it gave me anxiety. It's so tense. The dialogue back and forth, the way it's written and the way it's acted is so perfect and so realistic. and so disturbing. And this is where he threatens to commit suicide. And then there's a few scenes where you see him falling from the balcony, and he's looking through the window, and she's looking at him, and she's screaming, and it's all in slow motion, so it's very dramatic and very stylized. Later on in the film, it's mentioned that it could have potentially been an accident, because after a situation of more domestic abuse where he basically punches her real hard, she kicks him out of the apartment, and she's talking to a vicar at this point, and she claims that he went upstairs to the floor above, forced himself into the apartment above them, and then tried to climb down back into their balcony, trying to get back into his apartment because this woman locked him out of the apartment. And apparently he may have slipped and fell, or he may have just jumped, and it's kind of left up in the air for that. Anyways, at this cottage, her landlord, his name is Jeff. He basically shows her around, seemingly a nice guy, tells her that there's, the town is like 10 minutes away, there's a great pub, and she should just basically make herself at home. Now, every guy that she meets around in this village is played by the same actor. I didn't take down the actor's name, but it's the same actor that plays Jeffrey, the landlord. The guy at the pub, the police officer, there's this naked man that keeps showing up randomly. She sees this naked man in the distance at one point, and then she sees him a second time in her backyard while she's on the phone with her friend Riley. And this guy is literally just chilling out, walking around her backyard naked and picking apples from an apple tree and just like looking through the windows and shit. It's kind of funny to look at and watch the randomness happening. Obviously, in real life, it wouldn't be that funny. It would probably be a little bit terrifying, but yeah, this guy is filthy dirty. She calls the cops. They arrest him. Later on, she goes to the pub and she runs into some more like town folk, and this is where she runs into the cops. Again, every man in this movie is played by the same actor, which is interesting. It's an interesting perspective. And the cops mentioned that they let him go after like 2 hours because they had nothing to hold him for. He didn't steal anything. He was just kind of a whack job. He didn't harm her. He didn't he didn't break into the house. He didn't really commit a crime other than walking around her backyard naked. So all they had on him is public indecency, really, which is still a reason to hold him. But basically they gave him a bath, gave him some clothes, and sent him on his way. So this really pisses this woman off. And she runs into so many problems with every man in this village, including the priest. She's walking through. She goes to a church basically to kind of try and find peace, even though she doesn't really succeed at it. And then she runs into this I'm gonna say young man. He's strange looking. He looks kind of like maybe he has a little bit of a screw loose himself. He's short. He's really short, but he's very manly at the same time. So he looks 20 something ish. They de-age him though, because again, it's played by the same actor who plays the landlord. And the vicar of the church, the priest, as they call it vicar. The term is vicar in Britain. He starts to talk to this woman and try to ease her pain, but then he starts to kind of not side with the husband, but ask her inappropriate questions in the sense of like, did you give him a chance to apologize? Did you let him back into the apartment? Could it possibly be a possibility that he could still be alive if you gave him a chance to just speak his mind? Because men strike women sometimes. It's not nice, but it's not a capital punishment or something like that. Something along those lines. Very insensitive for the pain and torment that she is experiencing and has been experiencing for the last, week or however long she was there. And no remorse for helping her whatsoever, kind of thing. Which apparently is what all men do, because all men are the same. Again, with that subject matter, this film is heavy-handed on it. But the biggest reason, as I explained, why I gave this a 4.5 out of 5 is because it's such a gorgeous looking film, and it's disturbing and it's violent in its horror. It's the thing of nightmares. I mean, the third act, holy shit. We have Samuel again in the house. Her her mentality basically is all over the place. She's seeing the cop in the backyard, and then he disappears, like he vanishes, kind of thing. So you're having these people played by the same actor, and what we're left to assume is her seeing the same face on everybody appear and then disappear and then transform it to someone else, and then the Samuel, the young kid, is in the house, and then he'll turn into the vicar eventually. And there's a scene where this crow flies into the window and like right through the window, breaking it, and is kind of like has a broken wing on the floor. And then Jeffrey, the landlord, comes in and kind of snaps its neck and takes care of it. And then he sees that this woman is distraught, so he goes looking around, kind of thing. And then he disappears and vanishes, and then we have the young kid in the house in the kitchen playing with the crow, where he puts he at the beginning when Samuel first showed up, this young looking kid, he always wore a mask, and he was asking Harper to play hide and seek with him, and he called her a stupid bitch, and this is where the vicar kind of came and sent him on his way, said that he was like a troubled young man and all that. He's in the kitchen playing with the crow and puts the mask on the crow's head and just starts like playing with the crow on the table, and like kind of, I don't know what the hell he's doing to the crow, but he also has a split hand because at this point fucking Harper, the kid was trying to get his hand through the door through like the mail slot, and then Harper ends up putting a knife in the kid's arm, and then it's such a brutal, horrific scene. He starts to try to take his arm out of the door, and the knife starts slicing and slicing and slicing. So this kid has like half an arm. It looks like just this deformed arm while he's playing with the crow. And then eventually he vanishes and turns into the vicar, and then the vicar has a split arm, and the vicar starts saying like these poems kind of thing that didn't really make much sense to me. This film desperately asks for a rewatch, and this is one I'm going to have to sit on and think about for a long time. I sound like I'm on crack when I'm describing this film. I'm sitting here describing this film, and at the same time I'm thinking in my head, man, anybody watching this video probably thinks I'm fucking either making this up or I'm high or something. But you can't make this shit up, okay? The third act of this film, I'm not even done yet, okay? The third act of this film is bonkers. I wrote down here, there's a multi-birth segment where the naked man, throughout the film, he's kind of, I would say, growing, nature-like. So, you know, by the end, he almost looks like an Ent from Lord of the Rings, where he's like half a tree, and he has branches growing out of his head, and he has like leaves on his face and stuff like that. He, out of nowhere, develops this huge pregnant belly, and then you see like him give birth full frontal with a vagina, and this human comes out of his vagina, and then it's the young kid, and then the young kid develops a belly, and then the birth happens again to another similar looking guy, and then it goes onwards and onwards, and then there's a vagina on the guy's back, and then at one point he gives birth from his mouth. Yeah, spoilers, this film is fucked up. But it's an art house film. It's a horror art house film that fits the A24 production company style perfectly. So if you know A24, you know this. This is like Midsommar on speed. Okay, this is like Hereditary with women's anxieties on the human condition and existentialism. Fuck. And of course it is a film about you know, men are horrible people who just are out to hurt women, apparently. There is a lot of like, well, this film is absolutely packed to the hilt with symbolism, and this is why this film definitely needs rewatches, and I have to sit, excuse me, I have to sit and think about it a lot. I'm not even going to begin to think or pretend that I know what this film is about, because I mean, because I have no idea. I mean, the metaphors and the symbolism and the messages are are endless, and I'm not going to be all pretentious and think that, you know, oh, this meant that and this meant that, because for the majority of it, I have no idea. I know there's like a beginning of time, a beginning of life element to it, like an Adam and Eve thing going on, how sin came to be, life basically, you know, from a seed to how a seed grows. Again, I sound like I'm fucking high off a fucking tree, but these are guesses. Like I said, these are guesses. This film is so fucking hard to review, and the more I talk, the more I realize how hard it is to review. But it's a film I'd watch again, and it's a film that, I mean, by now you should know whether it's going to be up your alley or not. These films are up my alley because I like to have my mind warped, and I like to be hit with plots that I really have to sit there and ask questions. I love asking questions about cinema, and I love discussing cinema, and this film leaves you with a lot to discuss, and it is amazingly acted, and the cinematography is just stunning. It's absolutely stunning. There is a lot of scenes that are drawn out where she's like experiencing nature and she's at peace and like in harmony, and the scene will focus on her for like long periods of time. There's a scene where she travels through a tunnel and she starts singing like because it starts echoing, and she kind of makes a song, and then that song continues throughout the film, which it is really beautiful, like the score in general, but just the fact that she made her voice echo into a song and then used that as part of the score, I really thought that was cool. It's a violently brutal and disturbing finale, and like I said, I think this film is just about the evolution of life in general. Just simply put, the evolution of life and the evolution of like good and evil, you could say. That's my best guess, but I'm sure it goes way more complex than that. I'm sure the director definitely had a clear message in what he wanted to say in this film, and whether he was under the influence of something or not, I have no clue, and I do not care. He gave us a very well-made product. So that's Men. It's a doozy, and it's really, really nice to look at, and it's very, very horrific when it wants to be, and it really goes there. It really goes there. There's a lot of male nudity in this film too. There is no female nudity. There is just male nudity and men giving birth. Subscribe to Morgan Film Fan if you'd like to listen to my voice, or if you like my film reviews. I'll be back with more soon. Check out what's on the channel already. And yeah, until next review, that was Men. You know whether you want to watch it or not by now. So till next review, have a good one. Take care and cheers.